of water.
I think that with a work of art, or with any chain of thought, it's very important to keep your mind open to the possibility, or to the idea that everything is possible or could be. One has to be ready to be surprised, and I'm ready to realise that this works and that mermaids can drink tea, and that would thrill me, and it would be a discovery.
Here we've set our glass up, so with the bottom sheet and 4 sides, and now we're going to silicone seal them together.
Okay. And so this is the aquarium that will be used.
Exactly. This is the aquarium that we're going to try and pour tea in.
Thank you.
We should consider art both as a way of thought, a process, but also as a finished result. And in this case, I think that for Becky and myself, the work will exist as the process and the journey, whereas to everyone else, it will exist as the product. Neither one has more importance over the other, but neither could exist without this symbiosis.
Will that be strong enough?
Now we'll do the outside as well.
And will that be strong enough?
Well, we hope so.
I think that it's an interesting question why mermaids don't drink tea, and I think that this work explores one of the possible reasons, that being the impossibility to pour tea in the water, and the fact that obviously the tea and the water will combine, becoming one large, very, very weak cup of tea, which is cold. Another issue, obviously, which we do not address in this work, is the production of tea, which is, I believe, quite impossible underwater. Also milk, another tricky one. This work will almost certainly not work out how I intend it to work. It will almost certainly involve many challenges and technical difficulties, and I'm really excited to face them and see what happens.
Any cup.
Yeah, well, it's the right size and shape.
So like any very, very specific cup.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like underwater filming without getting wet.
Hey, Rosie, do you want to put some tea on? So it can brew for a good long time.
What really inspires me with why mermaids don't drink tea is that although I have an idea in my mind, it's as vague as the ideas you have of a place you will visit when you go on holiday. You don't actually know what you're going to see, and you're going for the adventure. I'm hoping that this work will surprise me along the way.
An unexpected problem.
We lowered the teapot with the lid on, and a few bubbles went out through the lid, and no matter how much we tilted it to pour, of course, no tea came out.
How has the first experiment gone?
Well, it was quite interesting, really, as nothing actually happened. Well, I expected the tea would actually come out of the teapot, but it doesn't. It just stays inside. And so it kind of, well, nothing happened. And now what we've got to do is figure out a way to make something happen. To, I guess, figure out how we can make tea come out of the teapot.
Okay, so we put a balloon into the teapot. We're going to push it down using this wire contraption that Becky will show you now, in the hope that this will eject some tea out the spout and into the cup, or at least into the water. It's possible that mermaids have developed their own tea holding apparatus, which would allow them to pour the tea into a cup that is, for example, isolated and then drink it with a straw. Pull it out and then push.
Come back little puffs from time to time. No.
I
It's
tried.
incredible.
I'd pour that cup of tea back in there and just
Tip the lot in.
tip from above and then lower the lot. And then place it next to it. Just like.
More this way.
So good and bad news on that take. The bad news is the teapot is only half in the shot. The good news is it looks fantastic.
Yes.
But
I couldn't see what
look
the
what
shot
this
was.
looks like. It's fantastic.
The milk is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. And we can hear the bubbles and you can't see them.
I know.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah, no. Next time, let's film maybe slightly further away as well if we can.
Isn't that cool?
But I think if we do this again tomorrow, for example.
Well, I'd be up for doing it again this evening because the light's really good. The effect is quite stunning, I find, the sort of swirling liquids and especially milk when it arrives, this cloud, and then the tea that starts to rise out of the teapot. I mean, I still like to figure out a way of actually pouring tea underwater, but I also think that it's entirely impossible. I guess it was even more impossible than I thought it would be.
In our third take, we poured the tea and the milk from above, and so they kind of had more force behind them as they hit the water, and that made some really beautiful effects. But I also felt like it was less in the idea of our experiment, and so I feel that there's one last experiment that still needs to be done, and that is lowering the kettle, the teapot, sorry, into the aquarium. But with not entirely, so that the pressure of the water above the tea will push tea out through the spout as well, because I don't think we should give up on this idea of having the tea really coming out of the spout, because that is something that is so linked to the idea of pouring tea that we really still need to explore that. I was in a very bad mood, and I was talking to you very grottily, and I wanted your secret stash of chocolate. and to avert a clash of ideas and egos, we brought in this concept of tea underwater. Is that not what happened?
Now you remind me, I do have certain recollections of you and my chocolate stash.
Yes.
And me kindly giving you some chocolate, I believe.
I was probably there for tea bags, and that's when we figured that you can't drink tea underwater.